it's worth it when you see the smiles of the kids. You're going to face a lot of problems, but also you're going to have these faces and these smiles that will worth more than anything.
It was life-changing because here I have a lot that I take for granted, and when I went down there I realized that they didn't have as much, but they still lived life as best as they could, and they appreciated everything they had. And I feel like sometimes when we're here we take for granted the little things like books in a library or even a computer. And when I was down there, I really felt like I was making a difference, and that
it's not an easy process. Sometimes you will do good. Sometimes you're expecting a result and that doesn't go the way you want to go. But you just keep on going. That's my advice. It's not an easy thing to do, but you just need to keep on going and keep on pushing and opening those little windows and little doors that comes in the path that you are facing.
She was a lot more grateful for the things that she has. She wants to actually one day become a pediatrician and maybe go back down there to Cuautla and work down there with the kids down there, or anywhere in Mexico. So that's a big difference. She's always wanted to do something in the medical field, but she's changed from just a regular doctor to a pediatrician to go down there and be able to help. Not to stay here in the United States where we take for granted everything every day, myself included.
The first year we started as a writing assessment. It started as a normal writing assessment, and suddenly Christmas was approaching and they said, why we don't write a book to our parents? I said, in Spanish, great. They start writing the book. It was just going to be 2 pages, something really, really simple. When we start talking about it, we start looking at literacy rates in Hispanic countries, and they decided, it was not me, and I just want to be really clear, this is not about me, this is my kids' ideas. I'm just over there to support them and to push them to be better. They decided to donate the books to Hispanic countries. I said, well, my question was, how are we going to do that? They got a list of all these embassies around the United States, Washington, Houston, LA, everywhere, and they just wrote a letter. The only thing I did was check the Spanish, because they wrote it in Spanish, they didn't write it in English. And I checked the letter and said, okay, let's pray and let's see if somebody will answer us. And what was the purpose? It was to donate all these books to schools in need. We didn't want to have just the regular schools, because I think there are a lot of schools in need, especially in Hispanic countries. So we sent the 21 letters. And I remember it was fall break. And I was with my husband. I said, wow, we're not receiving any feedback, anything from the embassies. And I was devastated. I was devastated because I saw how hard my kids were working. So I decided to spend my break calling all the embassies. And when we came back, we received 7 letters. Oh, my kids were so happy, so happy. I said, but how are we going to ship this, and how are we going to create the books? We were really lucky. When we had parent-teachers conferences that we talk about this project with one family, the mom said, I donate you the money. Each book was 99 cents. So this mom donated all the money for the books. So we asked for the kids, and the kids started writing Spanish and English. So it was a bilingual book with a lot of mistakes. But that was the beauty. That was the beauty. I was here at school probably 5 o'clock in the morning every day, just checking those 98 books. But you know what? That was the beauty. That was the beauty, to see those faces. Then Leanne supported us and with the shipping. And so we sent those books to the embassies. But we were lucky enough that it was Peru, the Embassy of Peru, Mexico, and Chile. They are here in Colorado, so they came. So we did this huge event, and they came and received the books from the kids. And I think those moments were unreal for me. That was the first year. I love design thinking. I think it's challenging all my students to think out of the box. And sometimes as a teacher, you have your ideas really clear. You don't see other perspectives. And when they come to you, they're just so full of ideas or full of new things that's the beauty. And you just say, really, I didn't think about that one. And you are the teacher, but you learn from them and they learn from you.
You know, I think the first part of this project was really asking teachers to look for making their content relevant, and in that relevancy, finding ways that they can take, for example, this one, world language, and really connect it to culture, but not just by studying it and analyzing it, but really discovering it. And so this all began with Rocio making some great connections, and they were started with just Skyping with kids. So they started talking back and forth to one another. But I think the powerful piece about this is the easiest way to make learning sticky is through empathy. And so very quickly, this started snowballing because of empathy, because our kids became really curious about these kids that they were seeing face to face.
I've learned so much already just about like what the kids have been going through, and everything that I've taken for granted in my life. And I've already come up with like a bunch of ideas along with the rest of the class to help them, and I've been helping to make those ideas become an actual prototype so that we can change the kids' lives.
I was taking Spanish 1B, so like I went into Miss Melly's class, and first couple months she handed out a brochure asking kids if they would want to go down to Mexico to help with our sister school. And I had seen like the stuff on the wall, but I wasn't really sure what that was. So I, asked my parents, and we got some more information, and it was just like, it sounded amazing that just as an 8th grader I could have this opportunity to go and build a library and help these kids out.
They wanted to know more about their lives and their culture and what school looked like for them. And so as they went along the way, they became more and more invested in this process, and they really kind of took the controls of this. So this began as just a classroom way to build some relevance, but what it's really built into is truly, when they say a sister school, it really is. They have built this collaborative community where we share our hearts and souls, and they share their hearts and souls at the same time.
Doulas Morales is the owner of several restaurants here in Colorado. He saw the TV reporting about the sister schools, and he said, well, I remember you from TV. Oh, give me your name and everything so you can contact the mayor of Portland. So I love to take risks sometimes, but sometimes, like everybody says, it's just like too crazy. So one day I called this guy and said, hi, my name is Rocio Meli. And I talked to the mayor and said, you know what, we want to do this. We want to go and teach the kids. That was the purpose, the first year, to teach the kids. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that year. For me, I can tell you, it was devastating. We worked so hard that year. We had like 56 kids enrolled for the trip that year. And to come in front of the kids and say, you know what, oops, sorry, we're not going to make it, for me was just, they broke my heart. But I didn't stop. I said, you know what, I need to do something for them. So we decided to call the mayor and told him that we couldn't go to Cuautla. And he just said, well, can you call me in 2 days? And I said, okay. I called him in 2 days and he said, well, I am going. I said, where are you going? I'm going to Castle Rock. I said, where are you going? So I ran to Leanne's office. I said, oops, we have a problem. He's coming. We don't have anything. So we make this huge event. It was just an unbelievable event.
For a teacher that wants to start doing a project like this, I say go ahead and do it. It changes kids' lives, it builds new relationships, and really just impacts people in a good way, I think.
All my classes create games or lessons for those kids. But we couldn't take all of them. So we make like a vote and we ideate about all of the lessons. Each team prototype their lessons and each class make a decision about the most important lessons that they had.
Our main idea was to unite the two schools in ways such as teaching them English. And so when I went down there, one day we were going up to the school and I remember specifically seeing one kid walking into school with cardboard shoes. Now this is a tiny little town, and to see a kid so full of joy just seeing us with these cardboard shoes, duct taped up, it really made me wonder. Here in the United States, we have everything we need to succeed. We have everything at our fingertips. And these kids, they don't have anything. Yet they have this joy and this passion to go to school every single day, when some of us high school students or middle school students, agonize in the mornings to get up. So, that was a really big thing to me, coming back, because from that moment forward, I really saw school as, something valuable. Because kids across the world were sacrificing everything to go to school, while we had everything here in the United States to go to school properly.
I only took 5 kids that year. We got a grant of $1,500 that will only pay for the airline. We went to our first sister school, Judith Michelle Fernandez. It's elementary. They have only 1 class per grade, and they have probably 15, 20 kids per class, or less than that. So my kids went from one class to another one. And to see them teaching English, but in trying to do it in Spanish, oh, I was in heaven. I was in heaven. I'm a crier, but I was sitting in the back of the classroom, just crying, devastated to see those kids teaching. But they were so cool. They had for us a cooking lesson, so they learned how to make a sope, that it was so fun, and how to make tacos, and that was great. Then they have a football tournament that it was unbelievable. It was United States against Mexico. It was so much fun.
This has been just a huge experience for me. I've never done something like this. We always do design thinking projects in the classrooms, but we never actually take them further and actually build these solutions for people. And this is just a huge thing for me because I've never had the experience to actually take my solutions to help someone in the real world.
We realized that they didn't have a library. So my kids, like a dream, say, why we don't create a library? And we're like, no, how can we create a library? I said, I don't know, let's do it. I said, okay, let's go for it. I started talking to the mayor and said, you know what, we want to do this. We want to create a library for the town, but we don't have the space. Don't worry about it, I will have the space ready for you. We're like, oh, this is serious. So we need to start working. And the kids start asking for more books, and we finished with 2,500.
When a teacher comes up with an idea, they still own that. And the minute that shift of ownership happens with kids, I think that's when you see that transference start to happen. And so what we've seen, especially in the last couple years now, is that kids have taken this on. So no longer is Rocio planting an idea or a seed. The kids are coming to her and they're actually demanding that more is being done.
You're gonna have to persevere through the different things, and you're gonna have to come up with a lot of ideas. It's gonna be a lot of work, but it's gonna be a lot of fun at the same time.
We were here one Saturday, all my kids and me, packing and by levels and sorting and everything, all the books. And we ship all the books to Cuautla. We were really lucky to get a grant of $3,500. With that money, we bought the airline tickets. So we took 15 kids. So it was getting bigger and bigger. Sometimes I thought, this is getting out of control. This is getting too big for me. And I said, you know what, but I cannot stop right now. I need to keep on going and I need to keep on doing it because of the kids. If the kids want to do it, let's do it. We sent everything. We did a fundraising because we didn't have money to get bookshelves. I said, well, how can we do it? So one of my kids in my Innovate said, I have a plan. Let's do it like boxes and crayons. And I said, okay, let's do it. So I called the mayor because we couldn't take it from over here. So I called the mayor and said, you know what, I need your help. There is only one store in Cuautla that they can get vegetables and fruits over there. So they gave me the phone number and I called the person in charge and said, you know what, can we get those crayons and boxes so we can create our library? I said, okay, but you need to pay for those. I said, okay, but we need to do the fundraising. So the kids decided to do a fundraising. We started working really hard to design the library and the needs of the kids.
Overall, this experience is one of a kind. It is something that is truly once in a lifetime because no other high school student has the opportunity to go down to Mexico and help construct the library, has the opportunity to help go teach Spanish. So this was a very, very valuable thing to me.
When my kids were at the sister school, when they were chatting with the kids, and that was kind of the purpose, is to find their needs. So one of the kids was talking and saying that they go to middle school in the afternoon because they work in the mornings. And they walk in between an hour, hour and a half down the hill to get to school. So my kids were like, what about transportation? Do you have transportation? Do you have? No, we don't have that. There's no roads over there. We just walk. I was like, okay. So when we came back, my kids said, you know what? We need to help them to figure out how can they do it. And one of the stories that I hear from my kids, it was that when they have the school supplies, they don't have backpacks, they don't have anything, so they carry everything down the hill. So we got a donation of 270 backpacks like this. But when we start ideating, they say, well, we cannot just give them the backpack. They need supplies. I'm like, great. Now what are we going to do? So, well, we need to do fundraising. We need to get them supplies, and we need some, I don't know if they have enough supplies over there. I said, okay.
We wrote letters to a bunch of businesses here in Castle Rock to ask for donations to help with school supplies and other costs for the trip. And also me and my partner have started a school supply list, and we're also starting a fundraiser for school supplies.
So our goal is to have the basic school supplies for the kids so they can attend school and they will have everything and be ready to learn.
So I'm in her Innovate, and I've pressed the designs on the backpacks that are going to be sent down to Mexico, and I've also done plaques. I've colored them, I've carved them, and stuff like that. And then I also helped in a clothing sale that sold John Barrios clothes.
We in John Barrios have a culture of giving back to the community. For us, it's very important to give back where we can.
So she is going to bring you a check today.
Okay, that's okay. So we have the supplies. We have that one done. The backpacks are already in the way to Cuautla. The moment that we have this, we need to send it right away. So that is our first plan. But, you know, when you leave just kids to fly, they start ideating and said, you know what, we need to help them on how to get to school. I didn't realize at that moment how big this year it will be. But they decided to start a bicycle campaign to help those kids and give them a bike so they can come down to school using the bike instead of walking. So after talking and ideating with the kids and prototyping the kinds of bikes and everything, we have several problems that we were going to face. The first one is, how are we taking those bikes to Mexico? Second, safety for the kids. Third one, how are they going to take those backpacks in the bike?
So these are like the backpacks, and so this symbol on the front represent the sister school, kind of like with us. So like the two flags of Mexico and the US like have that as kind of like, that's like our symbol, like to show that we are the sister school and we're kind of like together as one.
They came to me and said, Señora Meli, do you know somebody in Mexico? I said, yes, I am from Mexico. Can we contact them? I said, yeah, what do you need? Well, we have a problem. We cannot take the bikes to Mexico. We cannot buy it over here. So we need to get those bikes in Mexico. So we need people in Mexico to donate money for those bikes. So I start contacting people in Mexico, and they start sending letters. A person is going to donate some bikes for those kids. We don't know yet how many, but it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 10. It's just to make those kids happy. 7 bikes. Well, plus tax, isn't it? And to see that my kids were flying so high and they reached that goal. I think that's the beauty of all this.
It's been an honor for me to help support her and support their projects and what they're doing. So even though it's crazy, it's really a good thing.
So we have backpacks. We are going to finish our library. And then we have the Happy Bike program. That's what we have this year.
They're using technology, they're using VR goggles to give tours of our school to those kids. So while they may never leave their own country, they get a piece of who we are here too. And I think that ownership is what drives the learning. When they feel like they get to own what happens and their experience, they're far more invested in it. And as a result, we have high schoolers who are coming back to be a part of this.
It really makes a difference in people's lives, and I feel like if they had the opportunity to do that, they should definitely take it.